Ruby the Cherry, aka many other names, from 7th Ward, New Orleans, Louisiana, down south. This is my cousin and my partner, my lifelong blood brother.
612, aka Scrim.
Before Suicideboys would release their newest mixtape, Stop Staring at the Shadows. Before Suicideboys would take a 9-month hiatus, during which time Slick Sloth, well, he entered rehab and found sobriety.
The place I went to, I went to Palm Desert. You know, there's a bunch of facilities out there, and the place I went to was really great. The people were really great. It's kind of like a miracle. It's one of those things that'll make you get a cross tatted on your face because just something happened.
Before Suicideboys would have 148,000 followers on Twitter, 1.6 million followers on Instagram, 1.2 million followers on SoundCloud, and over 1.8 million subscribers on YouTube at the time of this recording. Suicideboys is the name of the rap duo comprised of first cousins Ruby the Cherry and Slick Sloth. Now, these New Orleans natives, they got their start in 2014 after spending nearly a decade toiling away, working on different solo projects. Now, after teaming up, they released dozens of projects over the past 6 years, with their honest, depression-filled lyrics gaining them a legion of fans, including the late artist Lil Peep, all while becoming part of the progenitors of SoundCloud rap. That's a big word for us. Who wrote that?
You wanna talk some shit?
No success, it was literally a matter of life or death for these two, having made a pact to take their own lives if their careers didn't take off by the age of 30. Now, luckily for all of us, it didn't come to that. Despite limited mainstream coverage, well, the duo, they have spent the past 5 years racking up millions of streams and views across all social media platforms in an effort to get their message, which has often been misconstrued, out there. They told XXL. We just want to let all these people know that have felt like outcast or of depression, mental problems, addiction, you're not alone. That's what created this family that we now share. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Michael McCrudden back at it again with an updated video. This one taking a look at the life and career of Suicideboys prior to fame. Here for you, of course, on Before They Were Famous. Now, I took a look at the story of these two a couple years ago, and you guys have been asking for us to go back and fill in some blanks wherever we could. Now, when we update these videos, we hit you guys with clips, pictures, and information that wasn't available our first time up to bat. Now, don't forget to let me know who you want me to document next in the comments down below. Alright, now let's get into this video. Hey, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Boom! Slick Sloth, otherwise known as Scrim, otherwise known as Scott Arsenault Jr., well, he was born on April 11th, 1989 in Marrero, Louisiana. Now, he was born more than a full year ahead of his cousin, Ruby the Cherry, otherwise known as Aristos Norman Petru, who was born on April 22nd, 1980. Now, their moms, they were sisters, and despite the fact that both boys, they grew up in the same city of New Orleans, well, their moms, they kept them apart from one another as much as possible because they would often get in trouble with one another.
Our moms are sisters, and whenever me and him would get together, some would happen.
Which was a lot.
Some would happen, like just stupid kid shit, or like burning down some shit, like breaking some shit, like getting in fights, whatever. So
the whole nine, bro.
And the thing is with our moms, like my mom would blame him and his mom, be like, they're not a good influence. And his mom would blame my mom and me, and be like, he's not a good influence.
Now, growing up as two white kids in a heavily populated black neighborhood, well, the two naturally gravitated towards rap music early on in their lives, with Lil Wayne being a huge influence on both of them. But considering how different these two looked from everyone else around them, well, they were too self-conscious to try rapping themselves at first. Now, instead, they split up and they tried to tackle the music industry by going their separate ways. Now, Ruby, he played a number of instruments from an early age, including both the violin and the drums. Now, this technical skill, it led him to try his hand at what angsty white boys tend to do, which, you know, is to join a punk rock band.
Started a band at 13, been playing live music and punk bands since then. It got really frustrating after 12 years of never amounting to nothing. So I called my cousin up and I was like, let's make rap music.
Sloth, on the other hand, well, he took a more technical route. Now, he tried his hand at being a DJ and producing beats for songs after being given a DJ set when he was only 13 years old. From there, he started spinning at high school parties, and influenced by the likes of Kanye and T-Pain, well, he began crafting beats on a laptop that he had bought from selling pills on the street.
I used to be obsessed with T-Pain, so long story short, I found out he made a couple songs like I'm in Love with a Stripper on GarageBand on his Mac, and I was like a fucking big pill dealer at the time, so I left instantly, went bought a Mac,
and started making beats at 19 years old.
Now, he released several solo projects under the name Scrim, including Narcotics Anonymous, #DrugFlow2, and patron saint of everything totally f***ed. Now, Sloth's hustle game, it was so strong that he did all this while sending out handcrafted beats to everyone in the music biz and working a 9-to-5 job as a furniture salesman. Now, this is a job that he would eventually lose due to his passion for tattoos. He told Inked magazine, "When I was working at the furniture store, whenever I got some steady income, I would get tattooed, and I kept pushing it to the point where I'd gotten sleeves. Eventually I got my hand and I asked my job, which was super corporate, if I could get my hands done. They said no, but me being the little young dumb hardhead that I was, I went and got my hands done anyway." After trying to hide it at work for weeks by wearing gloves and covering his hands with makeup, well, Sloth, he was eventually caught and fired. Now, thankfully, he had a Universal Republic production deal around this time to fall back on, but it was doing more favors for the people he was writing music for than it was doing for himself. Now, meanwhile, after 10 years of working with punk bands, well, Ruby, he wasn't in any better of a place in his life.
Sounds about right.
In 2013, he had been given a DSLR Canon P3i camera as a gift for graduating college, and after recognizing all the hard work that his cousin was putting into crafting beats, well, Ruby convinced Sloth to make a video for one of their songs. Now, Ruby, he told Ink Mag, "After making that song, we were both blown away by how well we worked together and how well the song came out with both of us doing a verse. So we decided to doing solo and started doing this together." From that point on, well, both men knew it was time for a change. Now, at the age of 24 and 25, the two finally came together to form Suicideboys after making a pact with one another that if they didn't make it within 5 years, well, they would take drastic action against themselves.
Pack. It was like pretty much like cutting a hand, bleeding, pack. Like, this is our last chance. There's no second option. There's like no plan B. If this doesn't happen by the time I'm 30, and that's pushing it. If this doesn't happen by the time I'm 30, like, I'm blowing my head off. Because no offense to anybody who works 9 to 5, but I can't spend the rest of my life.
No disrespect to anyone, but I know that this is probably the only life that I get, and I'd like to leave my mark.
Now, thankfully, it never came to that. Now, with nowhere to go but up, well, the two cousins, they began hustling together, promoting their music on a local level, which was ultimately leading them nowhere. Now, after about a year of that, well, Ruby, he discovered the underground rap scene on SoundCloud and recognized it as a platform of the future. Now, from that point on, the Suicideboys, they began dropping music on SoundCloud, one song after another. They'd release a new song for an EP each week and then move on to a new EP the following month. By flooding the site with content, well, they were able to gain a following in less than a year and had 10 EPs under their belt in their Kill Yourself series.
We never really went to go for like a certain sound because we wanted to not be held up by anything. So if we like made a song that sounded like this or made a song that sounded like that, it's whatever was going on at the moment.
As they worked towards something together, well, Sloth, he battled through some personal demons, including addictions to opium and a heroin habit. Now, at one point, it got so bad that he was shooting up a gram a day. Now, he tried his best to hide his habit from Ruby, but his cousin eventually found out and made Sloth promise to get clean or else Suicideboys, well, they were done.
I was a heroin addict, been addicted to opiate for 10 years. Lost my job, hadn't worked in like 3 years, was hustling just to get, scraping up change to get cigarettes and gas. So, like, yeah, we want more and but without them, every time I see them, you know what I'm saying? It's a surreal feeling. It's hard for me to put into words, like, what my life was and what they have changed it to, because without them, you know what I'm saying? Who the f am I? You know, I make music for me, but at the end of the day, it's good to know that there's this many people that feel what I'm talking about.
Having lived through the stories of close personal friends like Lil Peep, both men knew that Sloth's recreational activities, they had to be dealt with. Now, Sloth, he entered rehab and he was able to kick the habit. Together, the cousins, they kept one another in check with their battles against depression and addiction, saving one another's lives in the process. Now, their name, it might leave parents and journalists clutching their pearls at the group's image, but when you take a look at the duo's backstory and understand that they're talking about real things that have happened to them in their lives, well, you'd come to the realization that by sharing their story, they're actively helping inform kids all around the world who are going through similar things. Now, Sloth, he had this to say: "Every story is the same and I get chills talking about it now. But these kids are talking about how we save them from killing themselves or how they're clean off drugs. Kids who are scared to get therapy and scared to be stigmatized, or because of the way the system is. may not be able to afford to get help, they find that in our music. Now, considering where they started from, well, that might just be one of the most surprising outcomes of all. But as from where they go from here, well, I think I'm gonna leave their story at that because, you know, this is Before They're Famous. My name's Michael McCrudden. We drop a new video each and every day, so if you're new, be sure to subscribe. Obviously, these guys are massive stars. They're humongous. Last time we did this video, it got like 1 million views. So I hope we filled in some of the blanks for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know who's next in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in another video. Boom!